Hey, welcome back to our Advent study. We are taking time this Christmas season to take Advent seriously. Advent is the time from December 1st through December 25th, where we take all 25 of those days seriously and going after God. That every day we are being purposeful and intentional about looking at Scripture and contemplating, meditating on, and anticipating the arrival and birth of Christ. That's what the entire Advent season is about anticipating Christ's birth, but also as well anticipating his return. And so we have been going over the last few days through some of the Old Testament prophecies about Jesus, that Jesus doesn't just show up in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, but ultimately there are prophetic words, there are prophetic utterances, prophetic types and shadows all throughout the Old Testament that we can go and glean from and lean on and really use as a vehicle to help us meditate on the gravity of Christmas. That Christmas is not this small little goosebump of a feeling, that it is earth-shaking. It is literally a historic moment where nothing was the same after Christmas. And we can see that God was putting these Easter eggs, these Christmas presents, if you will, all throughout the Old Testament that prophesy and point to Jesus's birth that we are celebrating. So today, we looked at Isaiah 9 verse 2 yesterday. Today, I want us to jump ahead a couple verses to verse 6. This is a quintessential Christmas passage and Christmas prophecy. It says this: "For to us a child is born, for to us a son is given. The government shall be on his shoulders, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace." A quintessential Christmas passage, but I think it's so potent for us. And I think it's so important for us to wade into and remember the weight of this passage. Let's break this down. For to us a child is born. For to us a son is given. May I remind you, we did not earn Jesus. Jesus was given. A son was not earned. A son was given. And guess what? The government, the authority, it's all on his shoulders. And notice why the government should be on Jesus' shoulders. It's because he has a few names, and his names are Wonderful Counselor. You know why we can trust the government of our life to Jesus? It's because he's the Wonderful Counselor. He's not an okay counselor. He's not a mediocre counselor. He's not even a pretty steady counselor. He is the Wonderful Counselor. You know, even just the fact that Jesus is called this is showing us men need counsel. What I'm trying to say is, man left to his own devices does not have all the information he needs to make the decisions he needs to make. Man needs someone to help course correct him. Man's way quickly gets off. And that is why we need the Wonderful Counselor. We need the one who comes in full of wonder. And honestly, sometimes his counsel leaves us wondering. The Wonderful Counselor will lead you and give you counseling that leaves you wondering, why am I having to do it? Why am I having to do it this way? When is this ever going to end? What are the benefits of doing all of this? The Wonderful Counselor will oftentimes give you counseling that leaves you in wonder, and it's up to you to obey. It's up to you to trust his shoulders are sturdy enough to handle the government of your life, the say-so of your life, the authority of your life, to dictate what's in bounds and what's out of bounds for your life. But he's also the mighty God. He's not just a God, he's a mighty God. Of course, in this day, as today as well, in Isaiah's day, who prophesied this, there were many gods. Now, I'm not saying that they were real. I'm not saying that they had any reality to them, but people worshiped different gods. And God the Father wants to make a distinction here. Hey, I know you're surrounded by a bunch of pagan nations who have their many gods, their plethora of gods, but there's one who's coming who is actually a mighty God. He's not a God that you just have to pray to and just kind of hope that he's at work, that he's up to something. You can have concrete confidence knowing that your mighty God, and here, I know this is a little bit of a play on words, but I think it helps. I think it's memorable. He's not a mighty God. Like, I might get around to it. That's not the kind of might he is. Like, I might help you. I might save you. I might think about you. I might love you. He is a mighty God. He is enough. He's more than enough for whatever the task at hand is in your life. Notice this. He's an everlasting Father. For all of us, and for some of you, the time has already come, and that's why maybe Christmas is a little bitter. But for all of us, there will come a time when our fathers are no longer with us, when we no longer have that paternal figure in our life to lean on, to relate to ask advice of. And that's why we have an everlasting Father, one who doesn't have an expiration date, one who does not succumb to sickness and succumb to ailments and succumb to the weathering and aging process of humanity. No, we have a everlasting Father who is there for you when even your earthly father no longer is. And notice this last name. He's the Prince of Peace. This word peace is the word shalom. Shalom is so much more than just arguments ceasing. We can think peace is like tensions just being ceased, anger subsiding. The idea of shalom here is so much bigger than our typical American idea of peace. What this means is not just a season of neutrality between parties, but ultimately a season of restoration. Peace, not just saying, hey, we're good and we're even. Peace that says, no, we're for real good. And let's work even harder together. Let's build together. It really, shalom means nothing missing, nothing broken. Jesus is the Prince, of making sure nothing is missing and nothing is broken. When you lack peace, it's because one of those two things is happening. Something is missing, something is broken. It's hard to have peace when things are missing and broken. And Jesus comes to make sure nothing is missing. Nothing is broken. And it gets really easy to feel like the Christmas season is missing and broken. For some of you, your family is broken. It is a broken family, or it's different this year than it was last year. Maybe family members are estranged, or maybe family members have graduated to heaven. There's a brokenness, or maybe there's family missing. But Jesus is the Prince of Peace, that in the face of those pieces, maybe your life feels like it's in pieces. Jesus is not just the Prince of the pieces, but he's the Prince of making peace out of your pieces. Jesus is the Prince of Peace, shalom, nothing missing, nothing broken. And this Christmas season, we are taking time to remember that we get to experience the fulfillment of this prophecy. Isaiah just got to prophesy it. You and I get to live in it. We know Jesus. We have Jesus. We are anticipating his birth.